Hello, guys. Today I'm going to talk about a question someone has asked me. His question is that whether you should go for a job right after his graduation or go for higher studies in 2025. So he's graduating this year, and his question is that whether he should go for a master's degree or should we simply go for a job. He already has a job from the campus, and he's confused as to whether go for higher studies or do the job. Right. Well, there are many factors at play, so you cannot simply decide based on one criteria. There are many different things to consider before deciding on such a question, right? But there are some other things very important to know before you make such a choice, right? So, what kind of higher study you are going for, and why are you doing that, and what's the reason behind going for higher studies, right? And what kind of job offers that you already have, right? Do is that something that you want to do for rest of your life? What's your family financial situation, right? Are they able to sponsor your higher education or not? Do you have some financial commitments to your family members? Like in many countries, certainly in India, my home country, where many of us have obligations to the families and family members, and you want to help them. Let's say you want to finance education for your younger siblings, or you want to you want to take care of your older parents. So a lot of things actually are important to consider before thinking about. So in 2025, which is a very tough tough in terms of the job market, I would say, be careful if you're going for higher studies. Be very sure that you are going for high, for right reason, and be sure that you're going to the right countries. If you're going abroad, if you're doing it in your home country, that's all fine, but make sure that you are not overspending a lot on your higher studies, because 2025 is not an easy year. If I have to put it that way, it's not easier to sort of find jobs, right? And we are going through a lot of uncertainties, right? So if you're spending a lot of money on your higher education and you have taken loan for that, that can be very challenging, in the future when you have to repay the money, right? Because there's no guarantee that you will end up having a job after you finish your higher studies, right? So that keep that in mind. In 2008 and 9, I remember there were people who went for higher studies for the MBAs, and they took loan from banks. After they finished the studies, many of them didn't have jobs, and they were in trouble because paying back the loan was difficult, and many of them had to do odd jobs to repay back the loan. So be mindful, be careful over that. If you really already have a good job, I think it's best to go for that, right? If it's a job that you simply don't want to do, then yeah, you may think about going for higher studies and not do the job. But if something that is of interest to you, I think it's good to get some experience first. We are navigating through a very very difficult time. you know so it's been it's been few years already. The world has been facing a number of challenges. Started with COVID, later on a war, inflation crisis. Now you have tariffs and geopolitical risk. Everything is coming together, and it has been a while now. So if you're taking too much of risk, i'm not I'm not against taking risk. It's just that you should assess whether that is something you can cope with and you're comfortable with, because you have to take into account the worst possible outcome of your decision, right? If you go for higher studies in the US and you spend 60,000, $70,000 or even higher for higher studies, and you end up not having a job, you're having trouble getting a sponsorship in US, that can be very very frustrating, very very challenging actually. Returning back to your home country after having spent 60, 70,000, or in some cases $100,000. I think for most students in many parts of the world, it can be extremely, extremely difficult, right? So be careful about that, right? There's nothing wrong actually working a few years before going for higher studies. It's quite common in many parts of the world. In Europe, people take an year break and they just travel and do all kinds of other things before going for master's degree or other kinds of higher studies. So you may also think about that. I'm not advising you to go and do a solo travel. I mean, if you can afford it, that's all fine. But at least get some work experience, get some real world experience, either working as an intern or working full time, right? So nothing wrong with that. Get some experience, and after that you may think about uh, doing your higher studies, right? But if you're absolutely sure that you want to do higher studies, then go for that. Don't wait. Okay. And if you're comfortable with the money part, right? Your family is well off, or you are well off. I don't know how that is possible for, but if you are well off, or family is well off, and they are able to sponsor your education, I think then there's every reason to continue your studies and not settle down for a job, right? But if that is not the case, then you should be more careful, especially given the economic environment that we are in. Most part of the world, right? You see a crisis already, certainly in the job market. From a job market point of view, we are already in recession for the last 2 years. I haven't seen a worse job market in my career. In the last 15, 17 years, I haven't seen a worse job market. Everything is everything's so different now. Even 4 5 years back, things were a lot better compared to what I'm hearing and what I'm experiencing myself, but what I've heard from other people. It's one of the worst time to be a fresh graduate from universities, and I have a lot of empathy for the fresh graduates. I can totally imagine as at what kind of frustration people are going through, right? So you have to be careful. But if you already have a job in play, it's good to get some experience, because for experienced professionals, it's always easier to get a job, right? If you're moving abroad and if you already have some work experience, then your chances of getting a job there in a foreign country, getting sponsorship, becomes higher, right? So that's something you need to keep in mind. All right, that's something I want to share with you. Long answer to a short question, but then the question itself is not an easy question to answer, simply because it's there are so many things to consider before answering to such a question, which is not a very there's one size fit all uh, answer to this question. So I had to therefore take some time to explain the details. Any question on this, let me know in the comment.